at long last, the very first ever Nintendo Switch 2 Direct has come, and it has gone. And it is a brand new era for Nintendo, and by proxy, a new era for a large chunk of gaming as a whole. While Nintendo doesn't make up the entirety of the industry, the fact is they often end up pioneering things. So let's jump straight into talking about every major announcement at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And it started off strong with giving us much more information about Mario Kart 9 or 10. Because genuinely, I'm still not sure what number this is. And it doesn't help that this is the first game in well over a decade to not be numbered. Mario Kart World. And I immediately noticed how expressive the characters are in this game. And watching this trailer back now, it looks so fantastic. There's a lot of squash and stretch, a lot of great animation within the characters. Genuinely, I'm really excited to see how this game looks. Because, well, it has a more cartoony style than 8, and some people are probably opposed to that, others aren't. I think the game looks great, especially now that we're getting to see it much more properly in motion. Because these character animations and these expressions and this expressiveness, I genuinely love it. It's so full of life. And speaking of life, as a lifelong Sonic the Hedgehog fan, the fact this has rail grinding is just really cool. Like, what am I supposed to say? Rail grinding is inherently cool and fun. And, like, wall jumps, and god, this game looks like it's going to be improving the already fantastic movement of Mario Kart. Because this is something I've always struggled with. I struggle to play other kart racers. Because Mario Kart is so damn good that the other games in the genre control poorly, even if they don't. God, this plus Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I'm gonna be sick of the idea of kart racers by the time this year ends. Genuinely, Mario Kart World looks fantastic. It feels weird calling it that, because I've been calling it Mario Kart 9 since before it was originally shown off, because we all knew this was coming, let's be honest. But this game, again, looks visually great, the racing looks fun, and I haven't even talked about the cups and course selection. In fact, they revealed a good chunk of the courses coming at launch. And just to name the two that stood out to me, Shy Guy Bazaar being back is great, I love that course. Airship Fortress, I'm so excited to finally get to play that in a modern engine that isn't Tour. And Wario Stadium finally getting a remake, because that was the one Mario Kart N64 track that hadn't been remade in a future title. And that's before we talk about the fact that you get to drive between the courses. The game's open world, sorta, kinda. Free roam exists. The game's open world. The number of tracks looks lackluster, and that is almost entirely because I'm comparing this to 8, a game with 96 tracks. It has a great roster of characters and tracks, just from what we've seen in this one trailer. Genuinely, I am so excited to get my hands on this. Mario Kart 9/World, again, still not used to that. It's going to be an amazing launch title. It's going to sell systems. This game looks incredible. And, like, I am just inherently really excited because it has been over a decade since the last new Mario Kart. And it is a series that has pretty consistently delivered an amazing racing experience. Especially one that can be enjoyed by everybody, no matter how good they are at games, because of the balancing. Mario Kart World looks fantastic, and I am incredibly excited to get my hands on it. And I'm in a really awkward case where I want to talk about the specs, and I feel like I should talk about the specs, but fundamentally, I'm not smart enough to explain this properly to someone else. But the point being, they look promising and look good. And frankly, one of my biggest issues with the Switch is it was actively holding developers back due to its former hardware. And frankly, you can probably understand that it's much more powerful just from the fact that they announced we're getting ports of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Elden Ring. And those are games that, if they ran on the current Switch, we'd be lucky to get like 5 FPS. Either way, I'm hopeful this can bring a brand new era of Nintendo games that actually run. Anyway, time to talk negatively. Nintendo Switch Edition games. Oh, I don't like them. I'm just gonna be blunt. It feels like a cash grab. Mario Party Jamboree getting a Switch 2 version? Cool, it has a couple new mini-games in a game that was already severely lacking them in the main mode and seriously needs them as DLC and still won't even get that. And requires a separate camera. I have to buy a camera and buy another copy of Mario Party to play this. Now, given my initial reaction to this is this camera and this system, fantastic for group channels and YouTubers. Party Crashers, Side Quest, Underdogs, those kind of channels. But I'm gonna be honest, they didn't reveal how much they're going to cost as an upgrade fee. And I don't think they should have charged anything. Because it feels kind of scummy to have me purchase this game to then later down the road, and in some of these games' cases, pretty recently, be told, hey, so, you want to buy it again so it runs well? And it's like, these modes in Mario Party are cool. But I genuinely think this should have been like a free update, and once we have its price, I really hope it's something like $5, $10. Because the fact is, this should just be a free update. Especially for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, because those are just performance upgrades! Like, genuinely, that's ridiculous. And look, I'm a Kirby fan, I'm excited for the Kirby stuff. But I just don't like it. It feels very, very scummy and a very pull from under the rug sort of deal, where they effectively already sold you this game and are asking you to buy it again within less than a year or two in some of these cases. And these are games I love from a company that has made amazing games and games that I do love. But the fact is, I just do not like the fact they are asking you to buy these games again so soon. Genuinely, I think this should have been a free update. I think digital games for PS4 and PS5 do that amazingly because I just have the PS4 and 5 versions of these games. Metaphor Refanta Zero? I have, I think, technically 6 versions of that on my PS5 because I have the collector's edition and its bonus installs and both the PS4 and 5 versions. I just do not think that it should be something they are asking money for. Because again, especially for Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime, and Pokemon, they're just selling you the same game that just runs better. And that just, I don't like that. That just feels scummy. And I do not want them to do this. Genuinely, I hope this gets enough backlash, or generally people being like, this is a bad idea, that it either comes out and is like a couple of bucks per game, or ends up being free. Either way, the next thing... While working on this video, I saw a couple people discussing the price of Nintendo Switch 2 games, and saw that they were being sold for $80. And I saw nothing of that. Because I am Canadian. Here, that's how much video games cost. That's what is usually a $60 game, with $70 games being about $95. So I thought nothing of it, seeing that the game was going for $80 retail. And then I realized, these are all creators I watch, and people I watch, who are talking about this, who are American. So I went to check the Nintendo website myself. And suspiciously, the Canadian version of the Nintendo website does not have a price listed. However, if I switch over to the American site... So I also didn't notice this one looking at stuff for this video because the button literally wasn't there. So, like... Nintendo, what are you doing? 1, why are you hiding this? 2, why do you think this is acceptable? Because we are already at a point where video games as a medium are way too expensive. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind necessarily paying for some of these $80 games. When they're really massive, I don't have an issue with it. However, Nintendo, you specifically love refusing to put your games on discount, which was already ridiculous. But if you are going to be charging an additional 10 USD compared to your competitors, that is ridiculous and makes these prices extra unaffordable in countries, frankly, everywhere. They're already ridiculous. And then you top that off with the fact Pokemon expects people to buy 2 copies of the same game, and this is looking ridiculous. And it is ramping up incredibly fast. I genuinely do not understand how anyone at Nintendo thought this was a reasonable idea. And regardless of how money is, you are ramping up your prices an additional 10% compared to all of your competitors for no reason other than you can, because you're still going to sell. And I already mentioned a few moments prior about how the enhanced version of games felt a bit scummy on Nintendo's part. Maybe that was just coincidence, I thought. Yeah, I was clearly wrong. And this is even more evidence why you should play more indie games, because those are actually reasonably priced. Either way, the next thing I have to talk about is The Legend of Zelda: Age of Imprisonment, a Koei Tecmo Warriors game that takes place during Tears of the Kingdom's imprisoning war. And that has so much promise, as long as it's actually canon this time. This is a complaint everyone's had with Age of Calamity, but that game's a spin-off that just pulls time travel Deus Ex Machinas out of nowhere to have the champions and their descendants. And I'm gonna be blunt. Cool, fun, I get to play as characters I like. But I would genuinely have just preferred it, and this goes for this game too, to be a canon entry filling out some of the gaps in the Zelda's lore, specifically for the Wild era. Because at this point, I think it's safe to call that Breath of the Wild, Age of Calamity, Tears of the Kingdom, and Age of Enlightenment, or whatever, its own separate kind of sub-series within the Zelda. This looks like it could be great, and there's so much potential within the imprisoning war. As long as it doesn't randomly decide to just pull Link out of nowhere from a portal in the sky because he discovered time travel apparently during the events of Tears of the Kingdom. And also, maybe explain the ending a bit more, because Zelda turning back from a dragon was weird. Point being, this has a ton of potential to expand on Breath of the Wild's world. And I really hope it does. Although, it is incredibly exciting to see the fact that we're getting official GameCube emulation. I love the GameCube. It is one of my favorite Nintendo consoles. It holds up amazingly. And I am glad that it's going to be available as part of Nintendo Switch Online. For the people who pay for the expansion pass, seriously, why? It's so much money. But the fact is, it looks great, and the library of upcoming games they showed off, amazing. Genuinely amazing. The fact that they are going to be re-releasing Pokemon Colosseum and XD, two incredible Pokemon games that more people should play, but can't because it's ridiculously hard to get your hands on a physical copy and a GameCube, is amazing. Another one that was really exciting I saw in there was Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. It's a game I've been meaning to play, but playing it on official hardware is relatively impossible due to the circumstances it's been released on. So the fact is that these series and games that are stuck on the GameCube are now readily available and officially is incredible. I am glad. Genuinely, just the fact that you can play GameCube games on official Nintendo hardware starting this June is fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to go back to using Dolphin. So, unironically, I expected Deltarune to be in last week's Nintendo Direct. Nope! Deltarune's here! Chapters 3 and 4 have an official release date, and they were in the Switch 2 Direct. They're coming out June 5th. I'll cut straight to that. But the thing that amazes me, and genuinely, this really surprises me, and it's insane when you think about it. Deltarune, an indie game, is one of the major Switch 2 launch titles. It will be releasing on everything, including Switch, PC, and PlayStation. However, nonetheless, it is a game that is being advertised as releasing the same day as the Nintendo Switch in a Nintendo Switch presentation. That is insane. That of all games to get this treatment, it's an indie game. I was expecting a single-player game to launch alongside the Switch 2, and I mean, I wasn't wrong. I just wasn't expecting Deltarune. And genuinely, I have so much prop for Toby Fox that he genuinely got to make a Switch launch title out of his indie game. I am incredibly excited to play Deltarune, and I have actually been checking Blue Sky like every day for like the last month to keep an update on Deltarune to find out when it releases. So, yeah, I'm really excited. The next game is interesting, and not because I'm excited for it or have something to say. So funny thing, I was going to play reaction footage. Turns out, me at 6 a.m. in the morning didn't think to turn on my microphone. But the thing of note is, you are seeing actual footage of how it was live during the presentation. Yeah, it froze. For genuinely, I think, 3 separate trailers straight. I'm judging based on background audio. I was able to make out that they were Final Fantasy VII Rebirth getting a port, Cyberpunk 2077, and Enter the Gungeon 2. But I think it's inherently funny that Nintendo's stream broke right before announcing a bunch of AAA games that did not function in the case of Cyberpunk. And here's what it was like after Nintendo fixed it. The fact it actually broke! We broke the Switch 2 announcement! Next up is a trailer we have all been waiting for almost 5 whole years. Hollow Knight Silksong. Literally, that's all the footage we got, and a 2025 release date. But the fact is, Silksong is real! Honestly, I think Silksong could be used as a very great case study of when a game gets announced too early, and I very well might make that a video. But I think it's really cool we actually heard about Silksong. But the most exciting and most surprising announcement of the entire presentation. A brand new game from FromSoft. For those who don't know, that's the people who made Dark Souls, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Sekiro. They've won like 2 or 3 Game of the Year nominations, and they've been nominated like 5 times. Incredible developer, incredible games. There's a new game from them coming exclusively to the Nintendo Switch 2. I initially thought this was going to be Bloodborne 2. The setting, the fact I don't think there's a single shield in the entire trailer, and all that combined, it felt like Bloodborne. And realistically, it probably is in a lot of ways. But Duskbloods looks incredible. I mean, frankly, directed by Miyazaki and From Software are the ones who made it, and it's a Souls-like. I mean, it was gonna be amazing. These developers are so talented. Genuinely, them making a game exclusively for Nintendo is incredibly intriguing, especially since this is the kind of team I don't think would have accepted this deal if they couldn't get their vision working on the Switch. And genuinely, my takeaway from watching this trailer was, this looks awesome, I can't wait to play it, and I need to get around to actually playing Bloodborne. Because that is one of the Dark Souls, Soulsborne games that I have on my to-do list. That and Sekiro, I believe, are the main ones left. Oh, and Demon Souls. The point being, this game is almost certainly going to be fantastic. Combine that with Night Rain releasing this year, and Shadow of the Erdtree releasing last year, and it is just a string of games from Software that all look great. I am so excited for the Duskbloods and can't wait to play it sometime in 2026. Genuinely, FromSoft is one of those developers that has very rarely had a misstep, and I'm very doubtful that this will be one of them. Okay, but in all seriousness, who had Kirby Air Ride 2 on their bingo cards? 'Cause I certainly didn't. And sure, we're getting an Air Ride 2 over 20 years after the original and directed by Masahiro Sakurai. Genuinely, that is amazing. And the truly incredible part is this is the first Kirby game Sakurai has worked on since Kirby and the Amazing Mirror in 2004. He is not only the creator of Smash Bros., but the creator of Kirby and the guy who reinvigorated the Kid Icarus franchise. So having him back on board for his first Kirby game in over 20 years is incredibly exciting. Also, remember about 17 minutes ago when I said there were 2 mascot kart racers? I lied. There's 3 of them. Genuinely Kirby Air Riders. Looks! Well, I mean, we haven't seen gameplay. But the fact is, I love Kirby. And Sakurai is back on board. That alone is enough to make me incredibly excited. And last, but certainly not least, a brand new 3D Donkey Kong game with seemingly destructible terrain. And I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest, I like 3D platformers. This looks like a really fun 3D platformer. Again, destructible terrain, it looks fun. I still don't like Donkey Kong's new design that they've been using since the movie, though. It looks ugly. I will continue to complain. The eyes are too small. It looks fun. Looks like it has a great movement system. But the thing with 3D platformers especially is I just need to see how they control. I don't have a game I can immediately compare this to by looking at it. And if the movement is good, and it looks good, I think the game can be great. The thing is, I haven't got to feel it. There are certain things that you really need to feel. Nonetheless, it looks great, and the fact that the terrain is destructible is really cool, and unironically actually shows off the hardware of the Switch 2 better than almost anything else in this presentation. Genuinely, this new Donkey Kong Bonanza, looks amazing. It looks like it respects the original. It looks like it has its own style and charm, and while I'm not a fan of the art direction on Donkey Kong's design, the rest of the game looks great, and it looks like moving around and running around could be a complete blast. Will the Switch 2 has some worrying practices? There's a ton of games that look incredibly exciting coming to the console. I cannot wait to hopefully be able to play them later this year and get my hands on a system myself. What are your thoughts? Are you planning on picking any of these up? Either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!